You guys were roasting me in my DMs over the weekend. It's great to be here on a Monday, 6:05 on KCMO Talk Radio. And I get back to Kansas City on Saturday, and it's like 78 degrees. And then I wake up yesterday, step out on the back porch, and I've got a sweatshirt on in early August. Sign me up for more of that. I know it's not going to hang around much longer, but, man, it felt good. So, a lot of you were in my DMs, and I'm totally fine with this. I mean, I can take it. I'm a big boy. Talking about the fact that Trump was right regarding lowering interest rates, and that Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, who, of course, Trump has been locking horns with for the better part of 6-7 months now, has been too late and has been wrong. And Trump was always right on lowering interest rates, and now you've got to admit, Pete, it's time to lower interest rates. And now I'll admit that it is worth considering lowering interest rates coming up in September. But the reason I'm admitting that now is because we got new data. Like, my opinion changed because the information changed. And to me, that's how I think reasonable people assess situations. If you get new information, your opinion should change if that new information means that the outcome might be different. I mean, that's just, I don't know. To me, that's just common sense. Maybe it's not to others, but yeah, we now are in a situation after a pretty bleak jobs report comes out late last week, followed by that downward revision of 258,000 jobs as well, that maybe things are softening. And it might be worth looking at an interest rate cut. I agree. But leading up to that, we had all these monster jobs reports. We were exceeding expectations. Inflation still was not where it needed to be at about 2%, and that number is still not there. That's why you're hearing that word stagflation come into the equation, come into the conversation. We're not there yet, but obviously that's not a word that anybody wants to be talking about when it comes to the economy, is stagflation. No way, no how. It's like when Trump says we don't want to use the N-word, nuclear. Definitely don't want to do that either. But you look at the situation and you say to yourself, okay, we got 258,000 jobs revised down from May and June. We had 73,000 jobs added last month. Expectations were for about 100,000 when those numbers came out last week. So now you're looking at an economy and saying, okay, do we need to potentially take the foot off the pedal a little bit when it comes to interest rates coming up in September? That would be the next chance to lower the rates and potentially cut by probably a quarter point. A half sounds too much. Yeah, absolutely. That's worth considering. Now, some people are going to blame tariffs and say it's all about tariffs. I'm not convinced that's the case, because the other thing that's happened, and this has actually been a good thing that's gotten overlooked over the last few days, the jobs that have been created in the economy have all been done through the private sector. Now, there's not enough of them right now being created, but you look at the last couple of years, 23 and 24, about 1 in 4 jobs created the last couple of years were created, air quotes, by the government. The government doesn't actually create anything, right? It just kind of takes more of your money and then goes around and spends it, usually on nonsense. So the fact that we're sitting here now and there's no job growth in the government. In fact, we're seeing negative growth because every year there are fewer jobs, or every month there are fewer jobs being created by the government because of these layoffs. That means that the economy is not being propped up artificially. We were running on a sugar high for the last couple of years. Between government spending, between obviously COVID and just printing money left and right, it was fake. All of it was fake. And now we're having to deal with some of the consequences of that. And yeah, it's been painful, from the inflation to trying to figure out what these job numbers are going to look like, to figuring out how private sector growth is going to continue. Yes, there's also uncertainty around the tariffs. I get it. But to me, that's not in the top 3 to 5 things that are driving the economy right now. I think there's a lot of other things. Some of these are layovers from the last 4 years, too, that are finally settling in, where there's going to have to be some pain because it was all just one big sugar rush. So the president talked about this over the weekend, whether or not lowering rates is the play, and here's what he had to say.
What do you say to analysts who worry that lowering interest rates would actually lead to inflation?
Well, if that happens, then we just raise them. What you do is you lower them, and let's see if there's inflation. Right now, there's no inflation. Everybody thought there would be. All we have is billions of dollars of cash pouring into our country from other countries that took advantage of us for many, many years.
Two questions there, though. One on the tariffs is, are the companies over the short term just taking the hit because they want to see how these things play out? And eventually, are these costs going to be passed on to the consumer? I'm not saying they are. That remains to be seen because Trump does want, ultimately, I think, zero tariffs across the board. That's always been the goal since day one. Can he achieve it? Can he get it? I don't know. Hopefully. I'd like to think that's possible, but, I don't think it's entirely likely right now. So how does that actually play out? And then part two of that, when it comes to interest rates in general, when you look at this scenario and how this could play out going forward, the problem with just lowering and increasing rates based on whether or not inflation is too hot is oftentimes these numbers are lagging, right? It's not like we get an inflation number and right away it's like, okay, now I'm going to lower rates. This stuff is always months in advance, and usually the Fed is months behind. Either way, go back to 21. In 2021, we're all sitting here in 22 saying, dude, what's this guy doing? We all know that inflation's about to skyrocket, and Powell has his head buried in the sand. The Fed said that inflation was transitory. It wasn't going to be here for all that long. They were wrong about this. They were wrong. So to sit here and say that you can just look at a number and then lower it and then raise it and then lower it and then raise it and then deal with it that way, well, we're not at the inflation target now of 2%. We're almost running at about 3%. So does it really make sense right now to go out there and just slash? It may because of the jobs numbers. It may because we're seeing some of that softening. But I don't know if going willy-nilly month to month or meeting to meeting from the Fed is going to be the best play here. Now, speaking of best plays over the weekend, it was not a play on the field. It was not a play in politics. It was not any of that. It was a speech given by somebody that I thought didn't get nearly enough attention over the weekend for the message that this person was trying to send. It was incredible. And we'll play it for you. They've got deep Kansas City ties coming up next on KCMO. The Hall of Fame speech from Jared Allen over the weekend was absolutely fantastic. Of course, he started his career in Kansas City with the Chiefs, and then he had the best years of his career with the Minnesota Vikings. But this guy gave a speech over the weekend talking about his love of faith, his love of family, that, man, if you had more NFL players give this kind of a speech when they entered the Hall of Fame, we'd be much better off when it comes to our sports culture and society in general, John.
He was a fan favorite here in town. Got his own radio show for a little while, too. Did an hour a week, something like that.
Did he really?
Yeah, he had a radio show going.
That's great. Back when those guys would actually do that stuff before they could just post on Instagram to get their stories out.
True. Oh, he'd be huge on that. Well, internet now if he were a current player, for sure.
Oh, man, that is great. I never really had an opinion on Jared Allen. That was obviously well before my time. But I watched his speech. I'm like, I love this guy. He's great.
Yeah, people like him. It was, from Montana or Wyoming? I can't remember. Somewhere up there. Anyway, just a cowboy dude. Regular guy, hard worker, Joe Lunchbucket. People love that in this town.
Yeah, so he was traded to the Vikings in exchange for 3 draft picks back in, 2007, 2008.
Hated to see him go, but you're like, here's this guy's wasting his performance. He needs a big check on a playoff game or something like that was kind of the feeling. Same with Tony G.
Oh, man. Well, I fell in love with Jared Allen over the weekend. Watched this speech. First, I saw some of the clips on social media. Then I went back and watched the full speech, and I'm like, man, you wouldn't have some of these guys with 7 baby mamas and 12 kids, Tyreek Hill, if you cared about their families like Jared Allen does. Take a listen to what he said over the weekend as he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
And to my wife, I'm reminded of what Tom Lanphier said when we were going through our premarital counseling. He said the two most important decisions you'll make in life is one, whether you follow Jesus or not, and two is who you marry. Because there's only two types of people. There's boat anchors who drag you down, and there's people who elevate you. And you are a true game elevator. You're one of the smartest people I know. I am in awe of you every single day, and I love you more than life itself. To my amazing daughters, Brindley and Lakeland, through this process, the word legacy has been talked about a lot. The Hall often says they're here to tell my story. Well, I'm here to tell you too, you are my greatest accomplishments. When I get called home to heaven one day, if all they talk about is this gold jacket, my career, then I failed miserably as a father, a husband, and a friend. You two are my legacy. You are both so talented, and I cannot wait to see what you decide to do and to conquer this world. So always put Christ first, find your why, dream big dreams, and always pursue greatness in whatever you do. Thank you all, and may God bless you all.
Could you imagine if more NFL players or just athletes, Major League Baseball players, NFL players, NBA players, NHL players, go down the list, had that approach? If they had that attitude to what they were doing every single day, not just as an athlete, but as obviously a husband and also as a father. That's the kind of stuff that can change the culture right there from Jared Allen. And the fact that he's willing to say some of those things, stand up there at the podium as he's being inducted in to the Pro Football Hall of Fame and make those declarations about his wife and his two daughters that he has is pretty tremendous stuff. And I think for most people, sit there and you'll say, I agree with what Jared Allen was saying. You might be off to a job right now that you love. I happen to do this every single day and love it. But I'll tell you right now, after taking some time off the last couple of weeks and understanding what really matters, this is amazing. But if when they're putting me 6 feet under, what they're talking about is, boy, he had a couple of funny lines on the radio, I'll be a massive failure. I promise you that. Now, hopefully I have a couple of funny lines over the last 8 years and have some more to come, but it won't be the thing that defines any of us. It shouldn't be the thing that defines any of us. And that was the broader point that Jared Allen was making there. If all they talk about is this gold jacket, this Hall of Fame jacket that he's got on, then he'll view himself as a failure, as a father and a husband. And he's right. And if more guys had that approach to what they do every single day as professional athletes, and especially those individuals that help create and define the culture that we find ourselves in, man, we would be so much better off. That speech is not going to probably change anything for a broad swath of people, but it's just one of the many steps in the right direction that you're seeing when it comes to the current culture, not doing a 180, but just shifting that pendulum back towards the middle, which is exactly where it needs to be after a very rough few years and a weird few years where everything swung in one direction. And it was basically one big pissing contest to see who could be more radical, who could be more absurd, who could be more left. And now it's like, no, we can swing that back to where it's supposed to be. And this stuff doesn't change the culture overnight. It takes time. It takes brick upon brick upon brick to make these things happen and have really a shift in tone into what you hear and see every single day. But it's happening. It happened with Sydney Sweeney the last couple of weeks. My goodness, that story took on a bizarre life of its own, right? We talked about how you're seeing a major increase in Christian music coming along in popularity. Mark was telling me over the weekend that Mark, Forrest Frank is beating Ozzy Osbourne and who's the other girl? Chappell Roan, who's from Missouri, in the charts now after he dropped the new album over the weekend.
Yeah, #1 on iTunes.
How about that? I think it's Apple Music now, right? They dropped the iTunes
Yeah.
moniker. Us old millennials still call it iTunes.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
how we were raised. But those things are happening, and they're not happening in a vacuum, and they're not happening by coincidence. They're happening because people are, I think, partially seeing the light, looking for something deeper, looking for that deeper meaning, and they're realizing, damn, this is good, and this is exactly what I need. So you have these moments that continue to stack up week after week after week. The Sydney Sweeney stuff will be forgotten in a few months. This Jared Allen speech probably will be forgotten by most people by tomorrow. But these little things add up. They make a difference. They mean something. And they're absolutely, no doubt in my mind, steps in the right direction for what we're dealing with in America culturally and societally. 913-408-7957. That is our studio line and our text line here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. And we're always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. It is great to be back with you. Thank you to Paul Gallant for filling in Thursday and Friday of last week. But we're back in the saddle. We've got a lot more to come here on KCMO. We are going to have Steve Moore on the show coming up at 7:05 this morning. Steve is a former economic advisor to President Trump. You see him on Fox News all the time. Is this economy a little shaky right now? Or if you say that, are you being a panican? We'll also talk to Mark Levin coming up at 8:05 this morning here on KCMO. You hear him every night at 5 p.m. And we've got your chance to win Alabama and Pat Green tickets. They're playing at Thunder Ridge Nature Arena down in the Ozarks. And we've got those tickets for you at 7:45. Do not miss all of that and much more coming up on KCMO. In the meantime, Mayor Quinton Lucas taking a shot this weekend. We'll tell you who and why next. You got to be careful what you wish for if you're the Missouri Republican Party. There's a lot of people right now pushing Missouri to redraw its congressional map, which, of course, is happening down in Texas. That is something that you heard about at the bottom of the hour news there from Fox News. That redistricting controversy has gotten a lot of attention. What that is basically the state legislature redrawing the legislative map, and they're redrawing it in a way that will give the Republican Party a couple of more seats in Congress, which, heading into a tight midterm can potentially make the difference in terms of who has the House of Representatives. So now there's apparently been a push from the president and some others in the state of Missouri to take Missouri's 8 congressional districts, which right now break down 6 Republican, 2 Democrat, to make it 7-1. You make it 7-1 by getting rid of Emanuel Cleaver in Kansas City.
You mustard moo.
I'm sure that's what Cleaver's doing as he goes around the city and goes around the state these days. Everyone's a musty moo-moo in his eyes. So Cleaver is potentially on the chopping block. His seat is potentially on the chopping block. And Quinton Lucas put out a statement here yesterday on his Facebook page disagreeing with this, and he actually makes a halfway decent point on this issue. And that is, be careful what you wish for. He writes here, anyone who thinks a Kansas City area redraw is done easily without jeopardizing at least one GOP-held seat in a strong Democratic year doesn't appear to know the city and the suburbs here. And it could actually build the fastest way to get us a 5-3 map rather than a 7-1 map. Basically what he's saying here, because these districts have to be equal in population. So right now, Cleaver's district is basically western half of Jackson County, and then it leaks up in the Clay County. You've got to figure out how to basically divide that map and then tie some of these people into Mark Alford and potentially Sam Graves, and then have another district that is more Republican. But what Lucas is saying there is like, hey, this Kansas City area is actually trending blue-ish, even in the suburbs like Lee Summit. Now, Independence is trending red, but Lee Summit is trending blue. It's very weird what you're seeing here as the parties continue to shift around. You're seeing those in, let's say, higher income parts of Lee Summit who were traditional country club Republicans now leaning towards the woke Dems. And you're seeing parts of like old Blue Dog independents lean towards the working class Republican Party because the parties are changing. So it's tough to predict what this stuff is going to look like going forward, but Lucas has a good point here. You may draw this 7-1 map, meaning 7 seats that in most years will be Republican seats in the House of Representatives and 1 that's for the Dems, probably still in St. Louis. But you could open up a lane for where if Democrats have a really strong year, you may then put a guy like Sam Graves or Mark Alford at risk. That's something that's not being considered and talked about in this conversation. And right now, in this 6-2 map, where you have 6 Republicans and 2 Democrats, Cleaver, and then the St. Louis seat are the 2 Democrat seats, right now it's basically Missouri has no juice to it in these House races. The Republicans are going to win every single race. The Democrats are going to win their races. Like, no one's going to beat Cleaver. Sorry to, who ran against him? You had people like Sean Smith run against him. Who's that guy that ran against him like 25 times? I'm blanking on his name. Nice guy. But
is it Sean?
No, I'm
Not
thinking
Sean
back.
Tarwater,
No, it wasn't it wasn't Sean Smith. It wasn't Tarwater. I'll pull it up here in a second. But I was thinking about some of these guys going back a few years who gave him a run for their Jacob Turk. Jacob Turk. You remember that name, John? Jacob Turk. Really good guy.
Now.
Really good guy. But he was not going to beat Emanuel Cleaver. Just wasn't going to do it. So you know that you've got these districts right now in Missouri, 6 Republican, 2 Democrat. If you start screwing with this stuff, you may actually end up 5-3 at some point if the Dems have a really good year. And that's why I would not go down this road if I was Governor Kehoe. Apparently, Trump's team wants Governor Kehoe to do a special session this fall where they redistrict the Missouri map. But Mike Kehoe's got to explain to, I think, the Trump people that this is not as simple as you make it out to be. We have a very solid 6-2 map. Let's not screw with it right now. Let's see what the political trends look like going forward. And then come 2030, that's the next chance, because after every census is when you redo this stuff. That's when we reevaluate the political landscape, and we'll see what makes sense from there.
Yeah,
My bad. I'm getting back in the saddle here in the studio, so I'm just hitting buttons left and right.
I was going to say, I'm old enough to know things don't always remain the same. There's conversations all the time in sports when you've got a conference and one division's beating the heck out of the other, and, we've got to change this.
Yes, that's a great point. AFC West was like the worst division outside of the Chiefs. Now it may be the best division in the NFL between the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Broncos. I mean, that's a good point there, John. Let's go to Mike in Kansas City. What's up, Mike? You're on KCMO. Let it rip.
I've been following this story since it came up a couple weeks ago, and not a single media outlet mentioned that this has been done many, many times by the Democrats over the last few decades. Most recently in New York, I guess it was in 2020, they got rid of some Republican districts. Newsom in California is planning on getting rid of all but 2 Republican congressional seats, and Oregon and Washington State, Massachusetts, Delaware, all these states have been doing this for years. Some districts are 1 block wide and 5 blocks long, just to incorporate enough people in the Democrat to keep it a Democrat district.
So what do you say? Are you saying Missouri? Are you okay? All right. So you're saying Missouri? You want them to go 7-1?
No, I don't want Missouri to do it. Missouri needs to leave it alone. I think Lucas is right about that. He needs to leave it alone. But this whole issue, the way they're framing it now, is Republicans want to steal elections, want to do this, want to do that. The Democrats have been doing this for at least 50 years or more.
Yes, you're right. No, you're absolutely right about that. You are spot on about that, Mike. I agree with you. I mean, that's indisputable. New York is, I think, 19 seats, and we talked about this last week. I actually pulled up my data from last Monday, where in Illinois, 17 out of 19 are tied to the Dems. In New York, it's 19 of 26. California's 43 out of its 52 seats are Democrat. So, I mean, that's 80% basically. California is not an 80% Democrat state. It's not. In Missouri, we're about a 60-40 state. 60% GOP, 40% Dem, and Republicans still have the advantage when it comes to House seats, right? They've got, right now, 6 out of 8. They've got 75%. So be happy with what you've got. If other states can do a better job, so be it. Look to Texas, maybe look to Florida. But right now, Missouri just needs to hang tight and stand pat. Can confirm that Bill O'Reilly is not, in fact, a weed man. Having spent some time together in the last couple of weeks, it is great to be here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. So, WNBA courts are getting littered with dildos, and now you can bet whether or not one is going to be thrown on the court anytime soon, and you can bet the color if you so choose to. Are you betting any of this stuff, Mark? I know you're jonesing for a bet here. It's that awkward lull before college football and the NFL starts. So I know you guys are jonesing to make a bet or two on this whole thing.
And Caitlin Clark's out with the injury, so there's less to bet on in the WNBA right now. It's kind of tempting.
Yep.
I don't know if I should.
Well, the betting markets are open for this because we've had 2 green dildos thrown on the court of WNBA games. Yes. The last few days. And right now, you can bet whether or not dildo number 3 is going to be green, or you can bet the field. So green is a heavy favorite at 2-1. The field, minus 175 on green. That means you got to bet $1.75 to win $1. The field is plus 135. That means a $1 bet nets you $1.35 back. You can bet which half of the court the next dildo will settle on in the WNBA. And if it's not going to be green, you can bet on the color of the next dildo that is thrown on the WNBA courts. Black and brown are the favorites at plus 150, followed by white, followed by rainbow, followed by purple, pink, and blue. Those are your odds.
Wow, the things people do with their Amazon Prime savings. You know? It's Sorella's night here at the arena. Every fan entering will get a certificate good for.
I get the green because it's bright. It'll get on TV. So I think the next one, if it's not going to be green, it's got to be like a bright pink or something like that.
Yeah, I would agree. Rainbow could make sense too. Mm-hmm. But apparently they've arrested one person for throwing one of the 2 green dildos on the court. That was in Atlanta.
What? I don't know if it's guys or girls. Is it a dude?
They have
Seems
not.
like it must be.
It's got to be a guy. I
Right.
mean, they have not
And
showcased.
him and his buddy are like, "Did you get it, man? Are you bringing it? Where'd you put it?"
See, this is like the guy who used to run on the field after a few beers at a Major League Baseball game.
Yeah.
It's just taken on a whole new life of its own, right? But here's the thing, Mark. If you really want to cash in, there's an option for you here, okay? We'll call this the infinite money glitch. You buy a WNBA ticket. What's that going to cost you? $40, $50? As long as it's not a Caitlin Clark game, it's not that expensive. You buy a blue dildo. It'll cost you what? Maybe, I don't know. I'm not really in that marketplace right now, but maybe it's $15, $20. You max out the bet blue, whatever your max bet can be. Mm-hmm. And then you go out there to the WNBA game and you throw the dildo on the court, and there you go, man. I mean,
that's a good idea.
You got a big old profit on your hands here because the blue is plus 1,400.
Oh yeah.
So if you bet $50,000 on blue, I mean, you're going to make like $690,000, Mark. You can pay for your bail, and you can buy a ticket and pay for parking and pay for your equipment all in one shot, and you'll make a ton of money, buddy.
The thing is, you got to go to the next WNBA game, and you have to throw it early in the game because you don't want somebody else breaking it for you.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, if you're going to pull this off now that we've publicized this idea.
The competition is open.
Exactly. You've got to move here, Mark. I don't know where the closest WNBA franchise is to Kansas City. I don't know. Is it Minneapolis probably?
Minneapolis, Chicago, Dallas are all about the same drive time.
That's a good point. Well, you better start looking up the schedule this morning, my man, because if we're going to make this happen, if we're going to make you a very rich man, it needs to happen sooner rather than later. Oh, my gosh. I just can't believe you can bet on this stuff. That's what's amazing to me.
That's insane.
I'm not liking the forensic evidence part of all that.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm not liking that one bit.
Look out.
But here's, it's hilarious, too, that, like, Atlanta, one of these cities that, like, wasn't arresting people for years, is now arresting people for throwing green dildos on the WNBA courts. Like, I don't endorse any of this, but my goodness, how many criminals are running rampant? But they probably got the whole Atlanta PD looking for some guy, who threw equipment on the court. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, they're ZipRootering this thing.
Oh, my goodness. But you know what? In the end, this is really, like, not the worst thing for the WNBA. Like, I don't want this to happen because someone could theoretically get hurt if it hits them or something like that. But think about how much attention this league is getting right now that no one has ever given it. And this is not the attention you want, but it is part of the expansion that you're seeing right now in popularity of this league. Might another one bite the dust. Could be happening. CBS going through a lot of changes. Of course, last week it was Colbert getting the axe after learning that the show was losing $40 to $50 million a year. They had 100 staffers to write those crappy jokes and give those awful lectures. My goodness, John.
Wow. I love the one, too. Now, Jimmy Kimmel's been on vacation, so they have this promo on ABC. I'm out of here. And I'm like, I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I'm an affirmed hater of Mr. Kimmel.
They should just rerun Man Show, highlights from back in the day when he was actually funny. So CBS faces a growing problem with its morning show. It is getting killed in the ratings. Gayle King is making $15 million a year. She is 70 years old. And the lead producer on the CBS Mornings show is super woke and won't listen to the higher-ups who want to get out of the DEI left-wing political game. New York Post has it as the lead story this morning that the CBS Mornings show is potentially going to have some major changes in the months to come. They're in last place out of the major network shows, and it's not even close. They've seen their ratings plummet, especially with the coveted 25 to 54-year-old demographic. And they're paying Gayle King a fortune. And they're realizing that as they get set to likely sell the operation of this company, Skydance wants out of the political arena. They don't want people who are perceived as being hyper-political, especially when it comes to the left side of the aisle. It's failed CBS in recent years. That's why Colbert, in part, is gone, and that's why the future of Gayle King could be up in the air with her contract set to run out next May. And her producer is a woman named Shauna Thomas, who continues to defy orders from top brass when it comes to programming. But Gayle King has protected this executive producer. So this is all coming out this morning in a headline piece in the New York Post that more changes could be coming to CBS. And that would be good for our friends over at KCTV5. I feel bad for them because I try to watch our friends on KCTV5 early in the 6 o'clock hour to make sure I know what's going on locally. But once it gets to 7 o'clock and that crap morning show on the network, I'm out. I'm done. I mean, I've got right now CNBC on, the opening bell's in 4 minutes, and then I got Fox on the other TV here. And that's it. But it's unwatchable. I mean, Nate Burleson, I got to watch that guy who was a mid-tier NFL player. I'm going to watch him, break down the news of the day. No thanks, I'm out. Gayle King, what's she bringing to the table? And it's not like it's very stiff competition right now when it comes to network morning TV. I mean, the Today Show is still an institution because of its name. But could you tell me anybody on the Today Show right now? I mean, is Savannah Guthrie still there? I don't know. Once Matt Lauer left, it was like, sayonara, see you later. There's not much juice going on with any of these morning shows right now. And you're seeing it play out in real time. 913-408-7957. Got a minute, Steve, in Kansas City, Kansas. You're on KCMO. Let it rip.
Hey, Pete, man, I think the culture is changing here. I saw a report over the weekend that NBC is losing $100 million. They saw CBS and said, hold my beer. Saturday Night Live, Fallon, and Seth Meyers are aggregately losing $100 million. So keep your eye on that one. I mean, we're The culture is changing. We're bearing the lead here, man. Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican. I mean, this is like when the Super Bowl with young female voters. I mean, it almost can't get the WNBA is getting stopped by protests every other game. I mean, this is absolutely fantastic.
Things are changing, Stephen.
Something is going on, man.
And don't forget what's coming up this week. Greg Gutfeld will be on Jimmy Fallon. Smart move for Jimmy Fallon. Oh, you guys should see Mark rocking in the studio right now. He's breaking it down. Look at that, John. He's letting it rip in there. Woo! Mark's moving this morning.
It's a good song. I mean, every song he makes is just like a classic pop hit.
Oh, man. Forrest Frank's new #1 hit single, Lemonade, is now topping the charts. Of course, a Christian singer who is topping Ozzy Osbourne for all genres now at #1, and also Chappell Roan. He has topped her, maybe the biggest pop star going right now. She, of course, is from Missouri. So we've been talking about the cultural shifts that we've seen in recent months in particular. 2025 has been a big year for that. It started last year, but you're seeing it play out again here and throughout the entire year. Just different ways that the culture is being won back over by common sense. Whether it's Jared Allen's Hall of Fame speech we played a couple of times this morning over the weekend, the former Chief turned Viking who was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who talked about his faith in his family. Whether it is Sydney Sweeney in the American Eagle ad, where American Eagle is not apologizing or not backing down one bit for those who are suddenly offended by a pretty girl in tight jeans. Whether it's, something else like Colbert getting canceled after losing $40 million a year for doing nothing other than beating up Donald Trump and Republicans at large. There is an awakening happening where the pendulum is swinging back to the middle, dare I say, maybe right of center, which is still where I think culturally this country is. Doesn't mean politically that's where it always is, but culturally, I still believe it's a slightly right of center country, despite all the doomsdayers and what they're claiming out there. So now you see this. Forrest Frank, who would you say, Mark, obviously if he's got the #1 song, would you say he's the biggest star in the game right now, as the kids might say?
Yeah, I'd say him and Brandon Lake are pretty 1A, 1B kind of a thing right now.
Is this like, LeBron, Steph Curry are in their heyday, or is there a gap between them?
Yeah, they're pretty close. They're pretty similar there.
See, I couldn't even tell you who that would be right now in the NBA because I just don't follow it like I used to.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's the story? Because you know the story behind this song, Lemonade. What's the story here?
Yeah, so Forrest Frank actually broke his back a couple of weeks ago. He was skateboarding with his son, fell. You can see the whole story on his social media feeds, but he has security footage camera of him falling on his back, breaking his back, getting the neck brace and everything like that. And so he, in his creative mind, is just going to be laying on his bed for 2 weeks or multiple weeks. So he wrote a song actually initially called God's Got My Back, which is kind of funny considering he broke his back. And then he writes this song with these guys from the Figs called Lemonade.
Okay.
And Lemonade kind of came out of nowhere because these guys from the Figs were actually kind of making fun of him in a way, saying, Forrest Frank can just write an easy pop song. We can do it too. They send him the chorus of this Lemonade song. And he's like, we got to actually make this a song.
So they made it together.
Yeah, so they did a combined song. They made it together, and it goes to #1 on the first day that they release it.
Now, is this Forrest Frank actually collaborating with his haters? Or no? Were they not hating on him? It was just kind of they were tweaking him a little bit.
Kind of tweaking him a little bit. So not real
haters.
They're
not rivals.
Yeah, no.
Okay. All right.
Their actual music, I went and listened to their music. It's kind of folky music.
Oh.
So they don't write music like this generally.
But, Forrest Frank made these guys a lot of money then.
Oh, yeah.
Because these guys are not on his level popularity-wise.
No, not anywhere close. I looked to make sure. I was like, so who are these guys and everything like that? But, yeah, their streams on Spotify are very minuscule.
Wow. So is Forrest Frank now taken over from your boy Phil Wickham as #1 in your book of Christian music singers?
Oh, yeah. It's got to be Forrest Frank.
Wow.
Right now. Our girls love Forrest Frank. Like they've been liking him for a while, so...
Wow, how about that? There's a new number one in the Van Sickle household.
It's crazy. I mean,
Man.
we still every Sunday we're singing Phil Wickham at church, though. I will say.
Were you on the stage this weekend there, Mark?
No, I was not.
Okay.
I missed my last time due to, KC Untitled series.
Oh, you bailed?
I was missing all sorts of
You
things.
bailed on your church band because
I
you were
know.
filming Ted Lasso?
Feel a little bad about that.
Oh,
but
no.
they're fine with it.
Were they?
Yeah, I talked to the guy who leads the whole thing, and he was fine with it.
What do you sing or play an instrument?
I just sing.
Oh, okay. Just sing. All right.
They could fill that void, no problem.
Are you sure?
Well, that week was a little rough, but yeah, that's all right.
Oh, man, Mark. Jeez. So that show, filming that Ted Lasso, really set you back, man. You left us out to dry, and then you left the church band out to dry. But you know what? It was all worth it. All worth it, because you got the experience of a lifetime out of it, my man. When's that big check clearing, by the way? Did they tell you when you're getting paid?
So I was just looking into that, and so they have a daily time card.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know if I was going to get paid for the entirety in one check or separate checks. And it looks like I can check to see what's coming in the mail via USPS.
Oh.
And today I checked already, and I'm supposed to get 2 checks today. So I guess they're doing individual checks.
That was a quick turn.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be one of those, like, it'd take you 3-4 months to get paid or something like that. So you filled out like a 1099 form,
Yep.
and you just are going to get paid a flat fee, and then you'll pay taxes on it later.
I guess so.
Okay. Wow. Well, geez, have fun with that check, man.
Yeah.
That's going to be good.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Good deal. Well done. Nice work.
Not as big as Forrest Frank's check, but that's all right.
No, I don't think, not many of us who are clearing checks like Forrest Frank these days. You're right about that. Someone who might be, though, is if you work for the city of Kansas City and sue them, you might make Forrest Frank money. I just posted about this story on X. Kansas City Star writes over the weekend, another former top Kansas City official gets nearly $1 million to settle a discrimination lawsuit. Former Kansas City Assistant City Manager Carrie Tyndall agreed to settle her lawsuit against the city for nearly $1 million. She is now the executive director of the Westport Regional Business League, whatever that is. The Westport Regional Business League, I mean, is that a league where people like volunteer to play security guard outside of Westport to try to prevent someone from getting murdered outside of a bar at 2 a.m.? Is that what the Westport Regional Business League does? What kind of a job is that? So here's the story from the Star. A former Kansas City assistant manager who provided key trial testimony this spring in a whistleblower lawsuit that cost taxpayers $1.4 million has reached her own settlement with the city. This was tied to the Chris Hernandez case. Remember, Brian Platt fired his sorry butt, and then he's like, oh, this is discrimination. I'm going to sue. And he got over $1 million. Well, now, Carrie Tyndall, former assistant city manager, she and her lawyer will get $900,000. The city council approved that settlement last Thursday without comment. This is the second big settlement the council has approved this year to end litigation brought by former top city employees who allege they were mistreated by former city manager Brian Platt. At least one other similar lawsuit is pending in Jackson County Circuit Court, which could increase the city's costs above the $2.3 million already spent so far. And don't forget this, there's more to come because I guarantee you that Brian Platt's going to sue him as well. And he'll get more than both of those people will, John.
The city council decides?
Well,
on
yes.
Payment?
Yes.
Does this not go to court? I guess I'm confused here in the moment. I'm like, well, that's honor among thieves there. The city council decides, okay, you get $1 million, you get $1 million.
Well, that seems like it's part of what's going on here.
Yeah, it seems like. It's kind of like, wait a minute, what?
This is something the city has to get control of. Because
local control.
I guarantee you there are, and I may be understating it, dozens of employees right now working for the city of Kansas City, Missouri, who are plotting and waiting to file a lawsuit and land a massive 6-figure payday. Because let's be honest, the kind of person that is attracted to city government, There's many people there for the right reasons. There are many people who are freeloaders looking for an easy gig that comes with a pension where they can't get fired. I'm sorry, that's the facts.
Stop reading my mind.
Those are the facts. There are a percentage of people that work for government that are there for the right reasons. There's a percentage that are not. And the ones that are not are looking at this and saying, Chris Hernandez got $1.4 million. This Kerry Tyndall got $900,000. For a lot of these folks, that's like 20 years of working in one lawsuit where they claim they were mistreated. I mean, the city's got to figure out a way. I know that this Hernandez case got a lot of attention, but there's a lot of other employees that they're dealing with right now on the lawsuit front, and I'll ask Quentin Lucas about it coming up this week because it is out of control. And don't forget, it's your taxpayer money. It's you. Those are your dollars that they're spending on settling lawsuits. And the Star loves to talk about, lawsuits that are settled with the police department and rag on those, and that may be fair. But can we not forget about these lawsuits that are also being settled to the tune of millions of dollars? The taxpayers are just willy-nilly funding. What's $900,000 here, $1.4 million there? Suddenly you add it up, you got real money. It's sick. And they've got to get a handle on it. All week long, we're giving away tickets to Alabama and Pat Green. That will be taking place down at Thunder Ridge Nature Arena. So do not miss that. We have your next chance at 10:45 with Kevin Keatsman uncanceled. So do not miss that. It's a text-to-win keyword. The show is coming up on August 21st, 2.5 weeks away. So 7:45 in our show every morning, and then at 10:45 with Keatsman Uncanceled, a text-to-win keyword to see Pat Green and Alabama at Thunder Ridge Nature Arena down in the Ozarks. So Derek Dooley announced that he is running for U.S. Senate in Georgia. Derek Dooley, a college football coach, most notably at the University of Tennessee. He wasn't great at Tennessee. No one was until Josh Heupel came along for the last couple of decades, but that's probably what most casual college football fans are going to remember him for, and that is his time as the head coach at Tennessee. He's running for U.S. Senate in Georgia. He'll try to unseat a Democrat next year, Jon Ossoff. So first off, I think this is a good play. This is somebody who, first off, is from Georgia, played his high school ball there, was a graduate assistant at the University of Georgia to start his career. So he knows the state. He's not some carpetbagger guy like Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania or something like that. Knows the state, knows the landscape. And I do think there's something to be said for somebody who has name ID. Now, Herschel Walker, disaster in Georgia because Herschel would add 2 and 2 and get 5. Herschel Walker, God bless him, was and is an idiot. Just be honest. The guy literally had zero depth to him. And he also didn't have, frankly, a great personality. He was kind of just a meathead football player. When you're a college football coach and you're recruiting 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, you got to be slick. You got to be smooth. You got to be able to play that game. There are actually a lot of similarities between being a college football coach where the players pick you, not the NFL, where you largely draft the players. There's something to be said for the qualities that exist between a college football coach and a politician. Basically, you have to be a great BS artist. That's part of the job. So I was thinking about this during the break with this news from this morning that Derek Dooley announced he's running for U.S. Senate in Georgia. Who would be the best politician of the college football coaches in our region? And I was thinking about it. I was like, Lance Leipold, nah. Now, he's a great coach. I like Lance a lot. But he's old school. He's not a butt kisser. Chris Kleiman at K-State, same thing. Chris Kleiman's, these two guys in this state of Kansas are great coaches. I mean, Chris Kleiman's won D3 titles at North Dakota State. He took over from Bill Snyder, took over for a legend, and really didn't miss a beat at Kansas State. That's really hard to do. And Lance Leipold turned around the worst college football situation of any Power 5 team in the sport for the last almost 20 years, since Mark Mangino, and turned around the worst college football program of the 2010s. in the Kansas Jayhawks. And then I came to Eli Drinkwitz. And I'm like, that guy, he's a politician right there. Eli Drinkwitz. He's a good quote. He's a good BSer. He's smooth. He's off the cuff. I mean, that's the guy. I'm not saying he's going to succeed Mike Kehoe. That depends what he does with the Tigers. But of all of our major college football coaches in the region, that's the best politician right there.
Yeah, he's also a love him or hate him kind of guy. Like Kleiman and Leipold, it's kind of lukewarm. You don't really have one feeling toward one or the other. But yeah, Drinkwitz, he'll post a video on social media and people will be hating him or,
yes,
oh, that looks awesome.
He's developed a large group of people that randomly just think he's a huge tool.
Present.
And you say that as a Mizzou fan.
I'm a Mizzou guy.
You're a Mizzou guy. But even you're like, yeah, the guy's kind of a tool bag. Okay, so exactly. That's another reason that he's the perfect politician. On the text line, Pete, what about Nick Saban or Deion Sanders? Well, those are no-brainers, but they're not local guys. All right, they're not everyday Kansas, Missouri guys. But obviously they would be great. I mean, Deion Sanders would be now, I'm not sure how deep into the knowledge game of policy Deion Sanders would be, to be totally honest, but he would certainly be a lightning rod. Nick Saban would be great at anything that he did because that's the kind of attention that he puts on basically every job he's ever had. Just look at how he ran Alabama, right? But, yeah, Eli Drinkwitz, that's hysterical that John – I thought John was going to be a little offended as the Mizzou fan here. And he's like, nope, present, I'm in.
Well, I was sitting here thinking, are you going to pick him or are you going to rule him out too? Because I'm thumbs up on ruling him out. But to your point, you made an excellent point.
He's the best of the bunch when it comes to who actually would make sense to run for office. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio. So also, let's be clear that if you want to get inside some of the behind-the-scenes politics, remember, as good as Trump is, Trump arguably lost Senate control for the Republicans back in 2020 because they had those two runoff elections after he lost in November. And he basically told Georgia Republicans to not bother showing up to vote because the whole thing was rigged. And it cost him 2 Senate seats that tipped the balance of power to the Democrats. And what did the Democrats do for the first few months of Joe Biden's tenure? They jammed through all those spending policies, and it cost us literally trillions of dollars in inflation over the last few years. That's the biggest mistake of Donald Trump's political life. Downplaying those Georgia Senate races and basically giving power in the U.S. Senate in 2021 to the Dems. Apparently, the Trump people have their own candidate. Their governor down there, Brian Kemp, wants this guy, Derek Dooley, to be the Republican nominee. And I would just say this. Brian Kemp knows how to win in that state. I know that Trump's, going to want to do his thing, but let's just let the people that know the state, that have the infrastructure in the state, run the campaign and flip that seat. And Trump should just stay out of it.